All right, coming up in a couple of weeks, November 5th to be exact, Massachusetts has 5 ballot questions. One of those, question 4, looks to legalize psychedelics and like in magic mushrooms and other stuff like that. And on the line, we have Emily Oneschuk, who is a U.S. Navy veteran and the Massachusetts for Mental Health Options grassroots campaign director, and they are backing a yes on question 4. Emily, good morning, and thank you very much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
As far as someone who backs question 4, why should I vote yes on this?
Yeah, so question 4, it deserves a yes vote for a lot of reasons. The thing I talk about most is the mental health crisis we're in, right? And the thing that this sets up is two-pronged approach. So we have a regulated therapeutic access model for folks to access natural psychedelic therapeutic care, and then we have decriminalization. And these things are important because, people need other options. I think we all know someone that's struggling with whether it's depression or anxiety or, you name it. People just deserve another tool in the toolbox to help them.
Now, what do you say to the people who, and I've read a lot of this, who say basically a lot of people say, or a lot of supposed experts say, there's not enough evidence to back up the benefits of legalizing psychedelics. They say it's still too dangerous to do that.
So I'll say a couple things. Like one, there's been hundreds of studies on these. They've also been used for thousands of years in indigenous cultures, and hundreds of thousands of people are already using them. So what we're trying to do is meet the reality of what's going on, right? Destigmatize, take these conversations out of the shadows. And, I'm here because of my personal experience. I came out of the Navy. I had PTSD, depression, anxiety, went to the VA, did all the things I was supposed to do. I wasn't improving. And I found a lot of relief and just the growth that I needed through psychedelic therapy. So it's a tool in the toolbox, not an easy button. It's not a magic pill, but it does, it can really help people. I'm an example.
And I understand medicines work differently for everyone because everyone's body and mind are completely different. But I was reading some more evidence saying that there have been 40 hospitalizations so far this year in 28 different states. There have been 2 deaths attributed to magic mushrooms. When you were going through your experience, were you being supervised?
So this is where it's kind of 2 parts. So we have so what I did, right, I went on a retreat. I was supervised, and had this experience and then was led through integration afterwards. And that's what the therapeutic model sets up. And that involves, a commission, a 2-year rulemaking process. It's going to be a really thoughtful, well-crafted system that we'll create here. And then the decriminalization piece, to speak to the hospitalizations and the risks associated with this, the most dangerous thing we can do is pretend no one is using these, right, and not have the conversations and prevent people from talking to their doctors and prevent people from knowing, what safe and responsible use looks like. So public health approach from the decriminalization aspect, and then for people that are looking to do, sort of deeper work with this, there's the therapeutic side, which is, how I came to this.
Would there be separate dispensaries set up, or would these be sold at already existing, say, cannabis dispensaries?
So that's a great question. There are no retail sales attached to this. So it's not like cannabis at all. You won't be able to buy it at a dispensary. That therapeutic model is the closest thing I can compare it to is kind of like a chiropractor or something. It's like a wellness center. So you'd go, work with a coach or, work with one of the facilitators beforehand. You'd go through a screening to make sure you didn't have any contraindications. You'd go in for your session where you'd ingest the psilocybin or one of these other substances, be supervised, and then kind of like a dental procedure, like someone has to come pick you up and drive you home, and then go through integration. So not like cannabis, totally different model. No magic mushroom dispensaries.
Okay. All right. So really the main thing is to make it readily available, and it will, you recommend and your organization recommends to do this under supervision at this point, not just to go home and take some and see if it works.
Yeah. Well, so there's the decriminalization piece, right? People are, like I said, already doing this, and the therapeutic benefits come out of this more facilitated setting. So if you're looking to have that growth and have those benefits, doing it with a facilitator, is definitely, at least for me, the most powerful way to do this. but we can't ignore that people are already using these and they shouldn't be criminalized just for, simply possessing them. So it's a balance here. People are doing one thing, and then the therapeutic aspect is, where you get the most benefit out of it. So we're trying to meet reality and then, build something where people can get help.
All right. And full disclosure, I've experimented with psychedelic mushrooms several times in my life. And this is just me. This is not scientific evidence, but I've had a positive experience on many different levels with several different amounts. So I am for this, but I understand the questions. You mentioned earlier that you were treated with psychedelics. What psychedelics did you take, and what was that experience like?
Yep. So my first experience was with psilocybin. The other things on this initiative are DMT, which is found in ayahuasca, mescaline, and psilocin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that will be like kind of based on the person. So like when I went through my therapy, they talk about, or my retreat, they talk about like how sensitive are you to other substances, and like what's your experience like. So it'll be gauged on kind of your profile.
And have you ever taken any psychedelics recreationally?
I came to these in a therapeutic context, and that's kind of the lane they've stayed in for me. I did go down to Brazil this year, and I did an immersion with the Huniquin, which is an indigenous people down there, to experience ayahuasca, which was pretty incredible. I don't know if I call it recreational. It can be kind of tough, but
yeah,
glad I did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's the ayahuasca has, I think you mentioned the DMT in it. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. DMT.
Okay. And so what happens to you when, like, how much did you take, and what happened to you physically?
With ayahuasca?
Yeah.
It's like a small cup. Again, they sort of gauge it based on your experience. And I was very present. There are purges, that's part of the experience generally. But very similar to the psilocybin experiences, it sort of helped me weave all these pieces of my life together that can be kind of difficult to do when you're just kind of sitting in the same place in your brain that you've always been. So there are some physical side effects, but it's part of the process.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate your insights on this. Again, November 5th, it's question 4. Do you agree? Should psychedelics be made legal and available here in the state of Massachusetts? Apparently, your dog totally agrees with you there, and I'm glad. Right? Yeah. Just for the record, Emily does not give her dog any psychedelics whatsoever. No, they're not recommended for pets at all. Please do not do that. But I appreciate your time, Emily. Thank you very much for giving us your insights.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for having me.